Hey guys, welcome back to Friends and Enemas. My name's Lindsay, and who do I have with me?
Hello, everybody. My name is David Rosenbeck.
Awesome. Do you want to give them a little brief of who you are, where you're from, what you're doing?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was originally a nurse. And then as soon as I graduated as a nurse, I realized I didn't want to do this for 40 years. So then I went back and I decided to become a nurse practitioner. And so it took another 3 years. And then I got a job as a nurse practitioner in a cancer institute. And 3 years of working as a nurse practitioner at a cancer institute, that's like burnout to the max, taking care of pancreatic, esophageal, liver cancer patients. So a lot of my patients, they didn't last very long. And so it was pretty rough. And I knew that I wanted to get into some other avenues. And so I started looking into real estate whenever COVID happened, actually, because we had nothing but travel nurses in our hospital whenever COVID hit. And I was like, where are you guys staying? And they were like, oh yeah, I'm staying at this sketchy motel over here next to the truck stop, Oh yeah. And so I was like, well, if I would buy some houses, would you guys stay in them? And they were like, oh my God, yes, that'd be fantastic. So we started kind of our real estate journey, doing midterm rentals. That's kind of the terminology, on Furnish Finder and properties like that for traveling nurses. Mm-hmm. And then I knew that I wanted to have something else. Once I got the entrepreneurial itch, I knew that there was other things out there that I wanted to do. And I found out that one of my friends was working remotely as a nurse practitioner. She was in the palliative care team. I was working with the surgical oncology team. And I was like, Kara, how in the hell are you working remotely? No nurses know that you can work remotely. That's not a thing. And so she hooked me up with her recruiter. And within 2 weeks, I had a job working remotely. And my wife and I, we took off out west and we started traveling. And we've been traveling for the last 3 years.
That is awesome. Yeah. I get asked about remote work all the time in my DMs all the time. And I'm like, guys, I don't know anything about that. I don't know shit about fuck when it comes to remote work because I've never done it.
Sure.
But I have heard other nurses doing it and, they're popping up more on social media. I'm like, okay, so it is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
How would you suggest people get into it? Or do you want to kind of... We'll do the would you rathers at the end.
Please. Okay.
That way we can end it with fun.
So yeah, we, of course, then all of my coworkers, all of my friends, all of the people that I went to school with, they're all like, how are you working remotely? How is this even possible? And I kept trying to help them and direct them and tell them what they needed to do, how to structure your resume. I mean, whenever I was searching for my job, it sounded like it went really quickly from the story I just told, but I probably sent out dozens of emails, looked through hundreds of job listings, all kinds of other stuff, just a ton of time and mental stress. Because if you would go on any of the big name job posting sites, and if you would click remote jobs only and type in nursing, you'll have anywhere from 20 to 30,000 jobs that'll pop up, which is madness because we know that there's not that many jobs out there. And so I was like, there has to be a way that we could kind of filter this down. So I reached out to my buddy Alberto, who had multiple online businesses before. And I was like, hey man, I don't know anything about the back end of running a website or an online business, but I know about the front end. And I know that there's a huge demand because there's so many people that are burnt out in nursing. They're tired of doing what they're doing and they would like to still use the degree that they worked so hard for. And most people, whenever they start getting burnt out, they don't really think that there's any other options because no one knows about remote nursing.
You're right.
No one thinks that that's a real thing, or they think if they see somebody on social media, oh yeah, it must be nice. There's only these 3 jobs out there that can actually work as a remote nurse, which is not true. So we kind of developed a proprietary filter. And when I say me, I mean Alberto, my business partner, because I didn't know anything about it once again. But we developed this proprietary filter and we have a team set up together to where pretty much on a daily basis, we go through 3,000 jobs through our filter, and it filters down to about 50 jobs on average that come through onto our website daily. And the website is Go Beyond the Bedside. So if anybody is looking to get past the bedside, if they're tired of that type of work and they just want something different, there's a lot of people that they enjoy the work of bedside nursing. They enjoy the connectivity that they have with somebody whenever they're working. That's why all of us got into nursing. We thought that we were going to be caring for patients, but then ends up that it turns into a shit show for the most part. And you're overworked, you're underpaid, you feel stressed, and you feel like you're tied into that spot. And so once I started working remotely, I was like, wow, so I can work from anywhere. I can still use my degree. I can still feel like I'm helping people. And I'm a nurse practitioner. And so that opened up a couple more doors for me in the remote nursing world. But for the most part, 95% of these jobs are for nurses, not even nurse practitioners. So they're available for literally anybody.
That is so cool. Yeah. I have a friend that graduated with me in nursing school. She's one of my good friends, and we both started in the ICU. I was stoked because in nursing school, the only thing I was interested in was critical care, which was 4th semester. So up until 4th semester, I was like, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. I'm not interested in any of this. But 4th semester, I was like, okay, I could do that. We start our new grad program together. She hates it immediately. I'm like, give it time. We just started. Over time, 6 months, a year, she was like, I'm leaving. I hate this. And I was like, it didn't click for me at the time because I was a baby nurse. But she is now a remote nurse as well.
You're kidding?
Yes. And it took different steps. I think she went to some step down or med surg floor, and then she went pick nurse, and now she's working remote for like an insurance company of some kind. And I don't know exactly what she does, but I'm like, oh, it's always interesting to me because she makes more money than what we make at bedside for a lot less stress, a lot less work. Different types of work.
A lot less work.
Okay. I was like, what if I say that and you're like, oh, okay.
No.
But a lot less, especially physical work.
Oh, I mean, for sure.
Bedside is physically, emotionally, mentally taxing.
Oh, and like during COVID, how many people did you know that you like went to school with, or like went to college with that were not in the nursing field, and all of them were working remote, and you're like, you son of a bitch.
Oh yeah.
Like, because you were like, how do I get into something 100%. Like that? I went into the wrong field. And so once I figured out that, I could be one of those people. I could be the person that gets to sit in a coffee shop and enjoy, working and being at the beach and having, my laptop with me and stuff like that. Once you are open to the idea and you figure out that there are so many options out there. So I'll just kind of give like a rundown of some like the more popular remote nursing jobs out there. So for myself, I'm a clinical appeals analyst. So I work for an insurance company, and basically I have no patient interaction whatsoever. And so, I mean, it sounds bad, but I kind of wanted it that way because I wanted it to be as kind of like stepped away as possible, because I was focusing on some other things like building the website and like building our real estate, portfolio that we were working on. And so I wanted something that was like, I step in, do my work. Once I'm done with my work, I can step away and I can focus kind of on some other things. But for people that are like, I can never leave the bedside. I love that patient interaction. There's case management jobs to where you're calling patients every day. There's oncology navigators, which is actually what my friend Kara is doing, to where she calls these patients on like a weekly basis at least, checks in on them. Hey, is there anything you need? Do you need this? Do you need more insure sent to your house? Do you need to be connected with a respiratory therapist, a physical therapist, etc.? She's just kind of like this middleman liaison that helps make sure that their oncology journey is as comfortable as humanly possible. Okay. And then multiple other jobs. There's legal nursing, which I always thought would be kind of interesting because you go in and you kind of like get to play CSI a little bit, like there's some sort of thing that goes on inside the hospital and there's a lawsuit that's happening. And so then the law firm would hire you to go in, review the chart and kind of pick it apart of like, this is how this probably happened. This is how this could have been different. This is how the administration probably should have handled this, but they didn't handle it, etc. And so a lot of it is kind of like chart review, and you kind of get to like, play investigator and just like peruse through charts and kind of like work at your own pace. And then you get to like take a walk in the middle of the day or take a little nap if you want to, or, like make good food at home instead of scarfing down some crappy hospital food. And just the pace at which you can work was just mind-blowing to me once I did it. I remember my first week that I was working remotely, and I was just like, I walked downstairs in my pajamas. I was like, I'm already working. Like, what is happening? This is so insane. And so there's so many different avenues. So for the people out there thinking, I could never do that because I would just be sitting at home by myself, or I just wouldn't get any interaction. You can find something on all ends of the spectrum to where either you don't want to talk to anybody all day, which is kind of where I'm at right now, or you can be to where you're making phone calls all day, chatting with patients, doing Zoom calls. You can be doing telehealth. You can be triaging. I've seen some jobs that have come through our website to where you are a remote triage for like primary care providers, to where they're calling in, they're asking questions, and you kind of like triage these questions of, this is something I could answer, this is something that actually needs to go to the physician or the nurse practitioner, etc. And so you're like communicating with patients all day. So people that are gabby, that think that they're not going to be able to handle sitting at home by themselves, they can take something like that. So there's something for everybody.
That is really cool. I might get this wrong, but there's a nurse on TikTok, and I'm pretty sure that, I don't know what her title is called, maybe you will, that she kind of videos into the room, like the like an ICU, that she like I don't know what to even call that, like videos into the room to check assessment, or like to check on the patient, or to check vitals and chart the vitals. And I was like, that's a thing?
I don't know if I've seen that, but the one that pops to my head is for like labor and delivery.
Yeah.
They'll have to where they will monitor like fetal heart tones and stuff like that remotely. So you're just like hanging out inside your home office, drinking coffee in your pajamas, watching fetal heart tones. For all of our OB people out there that love working OB, they could still get a little taste of that and still use all of their, old knowledge that they had, and it transfers over. That's what so many other people think is, I'll have to go do this. And I don't know anything about insurance companies. I didn't know anything about insurance companies either. But then once I got started in it, you get trained in it. It's just like anything else. Like whenever we graduated from nursing school, we didn't know shit about nursing.
No, not at all.
You learn everything on the job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's something for everybody in the field.
Something you said earlier that I definitely want to go back and touch on is this burnout led you here.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your burnout?
Yeah.
Maybe what it felt like, maybe what you were experiencing? Because
Yeah.
I know we all have either been there or will been there. It's not if, it's when.
Yeah. So I did ER and ICU as a nurse. And so I was used to like, the craziness, but I think it was more, that was like craziness that you could just kind of like shut off, or like, just kind of like disassociate away from,
For sure.
But then once I started taking care of my own cancer patients as a nurse practitioner, like these are my people, these are the ones that I'm taking care of. I remember I've told this story many times, but there was a guy that was in the ER, typical consult to where, hey, pancreatic mass, multiple mets to liver, lungs, everywhere, 6 months, max. That's kind of the situation for him. And I remember I was walking through the ER. I can still picture it. E21, that was the room. And I was going to go in there for my consult. And I remember looking in the door, and the guy, he was, highlighter, yellow as can be from all the jaundice. But he looked happy. He was just in there chilling, talking with his wife. And I just remember thinking, I was like, shit, I'm going to go in there. And like, I'd done this dozens, if not hundreds of times before that. But I was like, something about it felt different. I was like, I'm going to go in there. Going to ruin this guy's life, going to ruin his wife's life. And so went through there, did that whole process. And I told him, or afterwards I walked out, I was like, holy shit, like that messed me up more than any of the other ones, because he was an entrepreneur, built up this big business, and he was about to hand it off to his kids. He was in his 50s. He was about to hand it off to his kids, worked his ass off his entire life. And he was like, we were just about ready to like live the good life. Aww. And then here they are, 6 months, he's going to be gone. And then as I was about to walk out the room, he was like, we were about to take a motorcycle trip down to Florida, like next week for like a month. He's like, should I still do that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Do whatever you want.
I said, do whatever the hell you want. And so,
give me chills actually.
Yeah, that one was probably the hardest one that I've ever had, because he was roughly the same age as my dad, roughly about the same time they were about ready to retire. And it was just like, man. So that was kind of the impetus for me as well, to like, I'm not putting off life until I'm 60. I'm going to find a way through real estate, through remote nursing, through all these other avenues. I'm going to travel, do what I want to do. My wife and I were going to go have fun, and we're not going to like wait to put anything off. So that was really like kind of like the tipping point for me. And then after that, not too long after, I started looking for a remote job. Yeah.
That's interesting, because I feel like everyone has a story like that we've done the same things.
Yes.
Every day almost. Patient care is patient care.
Yeah.
So you're doing the same thing, but there's always a situation that somehow hits home.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I don't like this at all. I know for me, I've definitely had burnout, but now I'm more per diem or part-time, and that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
But whenever I was full-time, similarly, I was in a transplant ICU. I'll never work transplant again, because it reminds me of cancer patients. What I assume, I don't have a lot of experience with oncology, but it reminds me of that. I'm like, okay, well, I know I couldn't do oncology because this to me is similar. These people come in for an organ that most of the time it was never their fault. Their organ doesn't work for many different reasons. They come in and then they have to stay in the hospital for a year with full code for a year. And these people are so depressed.
Yes.
And it's heartbreaking. I'm like, what the? I would be going insane.
Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah. Whenever I worked ICU, I was on CV ICU. And we had heart transplants there. And we had another patient. I remember the chart was this thick because I think altogether they said that she had the record. It was like 87 units of blood that we pumped through this lady and all this other stuff. Cause it's like, she's got the fresh heart. We can't just, let it go. Right. It's like, this is inhumane. Like, this is crazy. It feels
so inhumane. And I know like a lot of them live, but a lot of them don't. And so I'm just like, so that was kind of my point where I was like, no. I definitely can't do transplant ICU as a full-time nurse. Like that's not my gig. But pivoting definitely helped me. What do you suggest to nurses who are new grads? Because how long had you been in your career at that point?
So 7 years total, basically 3 years of nursing, 3 years of NP work. So I guess 6 years, 6 years total.
Because I think I get a lot of messages, which is sometimes I'm like, yes, I'm just going to tell you the truth. But I get a lot of messages from new grads and they're like a year old. And they're like, I think I'm burnt out already. I'm like, you probably are. And like, I hate to say that, but it's true. It happens. What would you tell them?
I think that, the Gen Z generation below me, I'm a millennial, Gen Z below us, I feel like they are so much more intolerant of shitty workplace situations. And like most people in healthcare, you think about like the 50-year-old Filipino badass nurse that's been there for 30 years, she just sucks it up and like keeps doing her thing. But then we're like, we don't have to do this, we're not stuck in this. So I think the Gen Z generation is going to be the one that changes it for the most part, because they're like, no, like we're not putting up with these horrible staffing issues. We're not putting up with these horrible work conditions.
Absolutely.
And so they're going to start dipping out. And once these hospitals realize, holy shit, like we're losing an entire generation of the workforce, we better change something. I think they might actually be the ones that are able to make a change in the healthcare system.
I totally agree with you.
But I think, even just if you had a year or even like 6 months of experience, I think for the most part, a lot of these remote jobs would open up for them. Because if they get some clinical experience under their belt, I've seen some jobs. We have a filter for new grads on the website. And so there are some jobs that are available, but it'll definitely narrow your ability to get one. So, but most people, whenever they graduate nursing school, they're not looking to go straight remote anyways.
Sure.
But, they get through a year and they're like, holy shit, I don't really want to do this anymore. Just know that there's an entire plethora of options available to you. Because once we got into it, we're like, holy shit, we could be like those people that like live in a van and just like drive around. As long as we have a Starlink on top of the van and we have a laptop, we could go anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And so once we realized that was an option, it was just so exciting.
That is exciting, because I think a lot of people do feel trapped.
Yes.
And especially location wise, like once you get a staff job, in a sense, you are trapped, because that's where you have to go to work. And you're right, remote work, you can literally pick up and go, which is why travel nursing was so enticing to us, because I was like, oh well, that's one way to pick up and leave, at least for a little bit. But even then, it's not remote.
But that was one of the things that, because I did 3 months of working at my old hospital that I hated, my very first hospital that I worked at on CVICU. And then I went to a different hospital, and that's where I did the most of my career as an NP. And I was going back there to work as an ER NP because I wanted to work for this company called Wilderness Medical Staffing, to where they send you to Alaska, Washington, Montana, or Idaho, and they pay you out the nose, like crazy. Like you can make a year's salary in like 3 or 4 months, but
that's where I'm going.
Yes. But I had to go back to the ER to do it. I needed ER experience because you're in a very rural setting. So everything's on you as the provider. And so I was like, sketchy.
Yeah, it's
like
scary.
They were saying there was one spot we were looking in Alaska whenever I was talking to the recruiter, and they're like, yeah, pretty much if anything happens, they have to fly a jet in to pick the patient up, and then they fly them out, and you just have to stabilize them until then. I'm like, holy shit.
That's a lot of pressure, actually.
So thank God we decided to go the other direction and got the remote job, because that was our idea. It was like, work 4 months, have an entire year's salary done, travel for 8 months, fantastic. But then once we got a remote job, I was like, holy shit, we can just travel anywhere we want to go. So I know that many, many new grads, like once they get there, they're like, I'm getting 2 years of experience in, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to go start traveling. You know, that's what I want to do. But it's like, what if instead of like, oh, I have to take this, you know, job in middle of nowhere, Nebraska, because that's the one that's paying the most. Instead, you could be living anywhere you wanted to, because anywhere that your laptop is where your job is. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I think we've hit like 37 states in the last 3 years.
That's so cool.
Multiple countries, but not working in multiple countries. But I accrue like 6 weeks of PTO, and you can actually use your PTO because the schedule's not posted, you know, like
they'll approve it.
Exactly. So you can actually use your PTO like a normal human. So yeah, I think for most people, they're looking to travel nursing is kind of like their escape hatch, when in all reality, remote nursing could actually be a lot better escape hatch.
Man, you're selling it.
Yeah.
You really are. I'm like, okay, yeah, actually, yeah.
I actually told my wife, I was like, if we could get Lindsay a remote job, that would be fantastic.
That would be fantastic. I'm not there yet. Maybe.
Well, there's plenty
You
of
are
part-time
selling
jobs.
Oh,
So-
okay. Now you're speaking my language, because I thought they would all be full-time.
No, I actually, for my job, more than likely, whenever we're doing a development in Sedona for a short-term rental development right now. And so after that, we'll probably be putting off enough cash flow that I could drop down to part-time, 20 hours a week, full-time benefits.
Oh.
And they said I could probably do 2 10s. So like, you tell me I work 2 10s and I get full benefits. I could do that forever.
I could do that forever.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because, something else I was going to say is a lot of nurses want to switch to like soft nursing, which is still a great option if you're burnt out with bedside. But a soft nursing, a nurse that my laser hair girl, she's a nurse. Uh-huh. And I was asking her, like, how do you like it away from bedside? And she's like, you know, I like it, but I don't love it. Yeah. And she kind of craves the chaos of bedside, which I'm like, interesting, because I think that's one thing that keeps some of us at bedside is the chaos, which is a little bit like,
we're all crazy.
We're a little crazy, aren't we? But I thought that was interesting. But remote, you're right. You can get up and leave because you're still kind of stuck with the soft nursing where you're at.
Exactly.
And that's the difference there.
Yeah. Complete location independence with a remote gig has been insane, because like, over 4th of July weekend, we're flying out. I'm currently out in Arizona, but I'm working East Coast time. So I have to be up and like logged in by 5 a.m., but I'm done at 1:30 p.m. Our flight leaves at 2 o'clock. And so we fly out at 2 o'clock. We get back to Fort Wayne at like 8 o'clock or something like that night. And then I'll wake up the next morning and I'll log into work. 0 PTO. We get to go home and visit our family. And so the only reason we ever use PTO is to go out of the country. So we have 6 weeks of PTO to go travel anywhere we want to.
That's awesome.
Anywhere in the States, like for the most part, just bring my laptop along, and like it's not that hard of a gig. Like, so I'll give you a realistic day in the life. Let's do that. Day in the life. I'm not going to do an outfit of the day, but I'll do a day in the life. Fair. So like wake up. I mean, it's early, 5 a.m. But if you're not on the West Coast with the East Coast time frame, then I could tell them that I'm in Arizona and they would change my time. But I actually kind of like it. So wake up at 5 a.m. I get like probably 30 to 40% of my work done during the day, because I work off productivity. And so it's like however many appeals I get done per day is what my productivity requirement is. And so I'll usually get done with 30 or 40% of my stuff. And then I'll like get up and we'll take the dogs for a little walk. And then the sun's just starting to come up. I'll make my second cup of coffee. I'll crank out the rest of my stuff. I'll eat lunch, and then I'll go to the gym. And then it's like 1:30 in the afternoon and I still have the rest of the day and I'm logged out.
That's awesome.
It's just so chill. Like from whenever I was working as a nurse practitioner, I was working probably 60 hours a week, seeing 15, 20 patients a day, all of them super, super sick patients, all of them cancer, all of them just a complete mess. To then whenever I switched over to this, I was like, what is happening? And I'm still making 6 figures working this job. So it's a very good paying job. The benefits are incredible. I was like, where was this all my life? So that was another reason that we wanted to create Go Beyond the Bedside to help people. Like, nobody knows this is even possible. So we wanted to create this website to just streamline the process for people, to make it as easy as possible, because you have to go through so many emails, so many BS listings. Like I said, 3,000 a day come through and only about 50 make it through our filter. So
wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's just a huge time saver for people.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make it as cheap as humanly possible, because like we're only charging $15 a month. That's like the cost of somebody's Starbucks order. Like, it's nothing. Right. We wanted to make it accessible for everybody, super easy for anybody that wanted to come into it. And like we just want to help people.
Before you figured out remote nursing, whenever you were talking about like is this what I've got to do? Like, is this what's going to be my life? Is that what you thought? Is that what you thought? Like, I'll be a nurse? Because at the beginning you said, I can't do this for 40 years. So what were your plans if you were like, if you couldn't have found remote nursing, what were you going to do? Just stick with it?
So originally, whenever I became a nurse, I was like, I definitely can't do this for 40 years. You know, I was just getting my butt kicked as a bedside RN. So I was like, okay. And like, whenever you're used to just like the collegiate corporate world, the only way, and especially in medicine, like the only way that you can like move up is by another degree, another specialty, another subspecialty, another this, that. And so I was like, okay. And like the two guys I was living with in college, they were both going back to NP school at the time too. So I was like, okay, we'll just go back to NP school. So I thought that was the only route. Went through NP school, got through that, and just like wasn't really making all that much more money than I was as a bedside nurse, which was surprising to me. And then once again, like, you know, I started working and I just had more autonomy, which I enjoyed as a nurse practitioner because I got to walk around the entire hospital and go do consults on patients and just kind of like have a little bit more of a free flow. I wasn't stuck to just one unit at a time. So I did enjoy it more. But once again, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this for 40 years. Like, there's just no way. And so I knew there had to be something else. And so that's where kind of like the entrepreneurial itch started working for me a little bit. And we got into real estate during COVID. And then, but then once the remote job hit, I was like, ding, ding, ding. This is it. Holy shit. Like this is the sauce that I was looking for.
Yeah.
Cause it just like checked all the boxes for me. I still got to use my degree that I worked my ass off for. I still get to help patients, even though it's on the back end of things instead of the front end of things. And I still get to make a good salary and I get good benefits. And it just worked out really well. That's
really awesome. I'm really glad that we had this episode because, like I told you from the beginning, people ask all the time, and you're making it sound like it is possible. There are positions out there.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling burnt out, obviously you need to check out Go Beyond the Bedside. The link will be in the description. Yes. But there was something else I was going to ask you.
Well, while you're thinking about
Keep going, yeah.
So we are going to do Friends with Enemas. And we're going to do Go Beyond the Bedside /enemas. Of course.
Love it.
You get your first month for $1 for Go Beyond the Bedside.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So my God.
We want to help as many people as we possibly can. So anybody that's looking for a remote job, anybody has any questions about it, reach out to us. Our Instagram is @Go Beyond the Bedside. Shoot us a DM. You will get a hold of me. We don't have anybody watching our DMs. It's just me. I'll help you out. And we just want to help as many people as we can.
I love that. I love that so much because you're really going to be making an impact on the nursing community. Yeah. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you have to have a bachelor's degree?
No. So we've even found jobs for CNAs. We found jobs for all kinds of people, and like a lot of jobs, even LPNs. So LPNs, ASN, BSN, NPs, and then probably our next step after this for Go Beyond the Bedside, because we've had some pharmacists reach out. We've had some physicians reach out. So I think the next step after this will probably be CNAs, pharmacists, physicians. Very cool. We're just going to keep kind of expanding from there. And then we do have somebody on our team. He's from the Philippines and he has a family member who's a nurse. And he was like, dude, you open this up to the Philippines. He's like, I'll get you all kinds of people. So Go Beyond the Bedside might go global at some point.
That is awesome. Well, I'm really excited for you. I actually really admire nurses who step out of the box, where they figure out like this wasn't for me, because it happens to most of us, and some just leave completely, which is understandable. But the fact that you figured out something that not only works for you, but is literally going to change so many nurses' lives. It really is.
Well, and like that was something that I really saw a lot of the time, especially when I was working at the bedside. Like most people, like most of the girls that I was working with, once they had their first kid, they'd go down to per diem or something like that. They still wanted to keep their job. They wanted to keep their skills, etc. But they thought that was the only option. And so I work with multiple people to where like my coworkers, if I got to get a hold of them for something and I give them a call, there's kids in the background, there's dogs barking, there's all kinds of stuff happening. So it's not like you need like, oh, I've got a kid at home, I can't possibly do this. It's like, no, it's a super chill, like for the most part, all of the jobs that we've seen so far, you could easily do them. Maybe like during the training period, maybe for the first couple of months, you'd need to like find a babysitter.
Sure.
But for the most part after that, for sure, could be at home with your kid, stay at home mom, and be making some really good money on the side. And so that was something else. We want to make sure that we're like, for the people that bedside nursing just doesn't fit their lifestyle anymore.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to provide something and put it right in front of them and make it as easy as possible for them to get into it, because us nurses are busy. Everybody's busy. People don't have the time to comb through 3,000 jobs per day to try and find something that actually makes sense for them. And so that was another big thing with the nurses. We're like, there's so many people that they want to step away, or they feel the need to step away because their life is too chaotic and they just don't want to be at the bedside anymore. And so once we found this other option, and once we found that remote nursing is like a super viable thing, and it's just like growing exponentially now, that we were just like, this is gold. Like, everybody's going to want something like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to touch on?
I don't think there's anything else off the top of my head that I wanted to chat about, but yeah, go beyondthebedSide.com/enemas.
Perfect.
Get your first month for $1.
I love that. Before we go, I want to ask you some would you rathers.
Sure.
The link will be in the description along with the social media link. So go ahead and head over there, give them a follow, because this is going to be huge. I'm very excited for you. Let's see. So you're ICU ER.
Yes.
Okay. Would you rather be in the line of fire during a trach cleaning or get feet flakes in your mouth?
Oh my God, trach all day, all day.
I
my God.
One nurse that says feet flakes, except for a peds nurse, and I was like, well, that's different. That's a child's foot.
Baby flakes. That's
not
nothing.
the same.
No,
not the same.
I remember, there's a side note. I remember I went down to the ER one time, and there was a patient, I don't know, he had like esophageal cancer or something like that. But he's like, my foot's kind of bothering me too. And I'm like, okay, tell me more about it. And he's like, well, so then I pulled off his sock, and I swear to God, his toe just about fell off.
Why is that always the story?
All 4 of them black as could be, and it just kind of like went like this. It like teetered a little bit, and I was like, so we need to consult CV like right now.
It's funny, but it's not funny. Yeah. Like, we're laughing, but we're uncomfortable. That multiple people have told me, like, I've taken a sock up before and a toe came with it, and I'm like, what do you mean? That has not happened to me yet. Thank God, that has not happened to me yet. Would you rather perform a digital impaction on a patient and then run your finger across your upper lip, or drink 5 mils of residuals straight from a peg tube? I know, pretty gross. No trigger warning, because you guys should know this shit.
I think I worked GI oncology, so I dealt with peg tubes all the time. I think I would take the peg tube, honestly. I think I would, because I mean, it's just mostly tube feedings inside there. So it's just like this, milky nastiness, but like,
I think it would get me.
I worked GI, so I did plenty of disimpactions, and it was the golden glove. You go in there with the hook, you take care of business. I would never put that on my face. Not a chance.
Honestly, disimpactions. So I remember when I was a nurse tech, and I had to help with the patient so that they could perform it. And I was like, I'm never going to do this. Yeah. Yes, I did multiple times. But then different states don't do it. And so when you come in and they're like, did you know that? Like California, the hospitals I worked there, if there was an order for it, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll get that set up, whatever. No, not you. It's for the doctor. I was
really?
Like, you guys have it good here.
Yeah.
Because we do that down south.
Interesting. Dude, no, one of the wildest consults that I've ever had to make. We had this lady, she was septic. She had a trigger warning, but I mean, everybody listening to this should obviously know what's happening.
They should be healthcare workers, but it is what it is.
So we had this lady, she came in, she was septic. She was like probably 500 pounds. She left a tampon in for like a month. Oh, no. And so she was septic from this black mouse looking tampon that we ended up pulling out. She was intubated on pressors, the whole shebang. And, we stabilized her, at least this was back in my ICU days. And we're like, well, we need to throw a Foley in her. So we're trying to get the Foley in, and just like impossible, 500 pound lady. We had like multiple arms holding back folds. And I was like, we can't find it. And so we were like, we got to consult urology. And so we consulted urology. He came in, he just looked at it. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. He was like, just help me. He's like, roll her on her side. So we rolled her on her side. He takes her leg, throws it up on on his shoulder while she's on pressors and intubated, throws her leg up on his shoulder, and he just like straddling the bed, straddling her other leg, throws it in and walks out of the room.
He's done this before.
Yo, that guy's a gangster. Like, holy shit. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I was very impressed. He's like, oh yeah, if you just turn them on their side, it just like pops the urethra right out and you just throw it right in. I'm like, you've seen some shit, my friend.
He must have. But now I'm like, okay, so next time that happens, I bring them. I'm like, oh, just put them on the side.
Obviously,
like,
obviously. Obviously. Yeah.
I'm the pro. That's funny. We had a woman that I might have told the story on here before, but it was something that I had never seen nor heard of before. When I was a new grad, we were cleaning her. I was on my own at this point, and poop just kept coming out. And I was like, is that coming out of her vagina? That is not. No, that can't be happening. But I keep wiping, and I'm like, no, there is shit coming out of her vagina. No. I leave. Fistula? I go tell the doctor. Yes, he didn't believe me though. He was like, go get an adult ear nurse.
Right? Yeah.
And I bring my preceptor in. I'm like, look at this.
Yeah.
And she's like, you are correct. They must have a fistula. I had never seen that in my life, and I was immediate. I don't even know like how it got there.
Yeah.
But horrified immediately. Like, that haunts me. I'm like, so that can happen.
So I had an ER patient, and I was probably only in the ER for maybe like a month or two before that, and I was in ICU previous. And we had this little old lady come in, and just like pretty much any little old lady that comes in with altered mental status, instantly straight catheter, instantly send off the urine, like it probably has a UTI. And so this little old lady comes in, and I had her inside there, and I was going to straight catheter, and I got her underneath her gown, and I was like, what is that? And so I went out and I got my charge nurse, and I was like, it looks like she has a ball sack coming out of her vagina. And I was like, what is going on? So I went and got her, and she was like, she's putting on her gloves, my charge nurse, and she's like, that's just a little bit of a bladder prolapse, and she just starts slamming it in, straight cast, and walks out. I was like, holy shit.
See, these people have seen some shit. Yes. Like, I haven't seen anything like that. And I low-key want to, not for the patient, but like for science.
Yes,
I'm like,
science.
Interesting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, there's a few other good ones from the ER. We had, of course, the classics of slipped on the shampoo bottle in the bathroom. Like, that's always, a given. But we had one guy.
Those are insane, though.
Yeah. One guy, it was just like, what were you thinking? He came in as a trauma activate. It was a chainsaw laceration to his forearm, and he was a hemophiliac. And I was like, the fuck are you doing using a chainsaw as a hemophiliac?
Explain what a hemophiliac is in case people don't know.
For hemophiliac, it's to where your clotting does not work correctly. So even if you just get like a slice on your finger, you can just keep on bleeding forever and it just won't stop.
Yeah.
And so this dude's left arm was mangled from a chainsaw. And I asked him, I was like, dude, what are you doing using a chainsaw? He's like, well, I was just holding the branch and my girlfriend was using the chainsaw. I was like, oh my God, what are you thinking?
She might have had a life insurance plan out on him.
Yeah, we know what she was thinking. A couple million right before that. Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Yes. I really appreciate you coming up here to do this episode. Once again, guys, give them a follow. Link will be in the description. But I think that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. This was super fun.
You're welcome.
So anybody that's looking for the best of the best remote nursing jobs, don't go to the big job websites. You'll have thousands of jobs you have to sort through. Just come to us. Make your life easy. We have new jobs being updated every single day, and we're here for you.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
See ya.